What is going on, my friends? Welcome back to the Locks DFS NBA breakdown video. I'm your host, Christian Hardy. I'm at BuyHardy on Twitter and BuyHardy on DraftKings, and I am from LocksDFS.com. We are a provider of DFS content, giving you guys our lock sheets, our locks, player grades, analysis, and stud and value rankings every single NBA slate right here, LocksDFS.com. Please go check us out right there. If you guys break down our regular season pass, actually it's not even just regular season pass, it's a season pass. It comes down to like 63 cents a day. I just did the math on that for the regular season. And if you go through the playoffs, which we will have our sheets all the way through the NBA playoffs, besides the finals, it'll break down to 50 cents a day. So I think it's well worth the value. Please go check us out at locksdfs.com, and we'll get you guys into our Slack chat if you guys become a member. You also can try us out for 3 days for free if you go into the upper right corner of the website. So check us out at locksdfs.com, and also be sure to leave a comment on this video with your favorite play of the day, whether it's a GPP play, whether it's a cash game play, whatever it might be. Leave your favorite play of the day, someone that you definitely want to get exposure to today on the slate, and why you want to get exposure. And you'll be entered to win a free season pass from locksdfs.com. We really appreciate you guys, and we give away that free season pass every single Thursday night football video on the channel. So do that, really helps us out, and also be sure to subscribe and like the channel as well. Like the video as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and start off with some injury news to start the day. We have news on Darren Fox, who sprained his ankle in Monday's practice, so he's going to be out in this game today. He's going to miss at least a few weeks. We also have the only biggest questionable we have, but there's actually not a lot of questionables today that we're really waiting on. There's a few that will impact things, like Alex Len. Rajon Rondo might impact things a little bit. Tyler Herro is questionable, might impact things a little bit. But Ben Simmons is definitely the biggest one. He's questionable. He's missed a few games, I believe. I think he's missed 2 games so far. I am thinking that he will sit this game out, but I'm not positive yet. And then also we have news that Al Horford is going to rest for this game. And then lastly, the most impactful news. There is more news in this, but at least for impact in this video, Miles Turner, Jeremy Lamb, and Goga are all still out for Indiana. There are a lot more guys that are out on this slate. Otto Porter is in there. Justice Winslow is in there. Mitchell Robinson is in there. So there's more guys that are going to impact, but those are the ones I wanted to touch on for the video are right here. Okay. Let's go ahead and talk about the Darren Fox situation first, because obviously this is going to lead to one of the highest owned players of the slate. It should be Corey Joseph right here. At 3.7K for Sacramento. I mean, I don't really need to talk about it too much. Corey Joseph just doesn't need to do a whole lot of this 3.7K price tag to reach value. Even if he's averaging like 0.8 fantasy points per minute, we can give him pretty safely 28 minutes. And of course, he could play more. He could play 30. He could play 31, somewhere in there. And if we give him 0.75, 0.8 fantasy points per minute, he's easily getting to value. And he's even smashing his price. He could go like 7x here. Absolutely. Also worth noting, this is the highest total game on the slate. Actually, I'm not going to be able to pull it up because it's at the very bottom, but it's a 222. It has dropped 5 points, so maybe it ends up not being the highest total game on the slate. We don't have a lot of high totals in the slate. That's the highest one being 222, so obviously there's not a lot of high-scoring games on the slate. Even the higher-paced teams are like Hawks, they're playing Denver, the Nets, they're playing the Jazz. Like, there's just not a lot of like spots that are conducive to scoring. But yeah, outside of Joseph, it definitely impacts more than just Joseph, because although we don't have a big sample size with him out, with Fox out, I do think that we're going to see a little bit of that usage, that 29.5% usage, a team high, be distributed across the board. So I think we could see Buddy Hield, who has a fine price. I don't mind him at all. I think we could see him get a little bit more usage. We could see Bogdan Bogdanovic. I think that we will see him. Obviously, he comes off the bench, but I think that late in games where he pretty much consistently plays the fourth quarter, the final stint of games, he could get more usage in that time span. This is expected to be a pretty close game, so that could definitely impact him. And then also, I really like the price on Rashawn Holmes on DraftKings. It's come down from where it was, or it's come down from that 5.8 price tag after he had those few games when he was really cheap. Obviously, we know how solid he is fantasy point per minute already, and if he takes some of that 29.5% usage, if we expect Corey Joseph just to have like a 16% usage or something like that, that'll open up a few extra shots for Holmes potentially as well. So those guys all make sense. One thing I want to note about Hield is that when I pulled up the numbers from last year on NBA Wowie, without Darren Fox, and even this year without Darren Fox, he doesn't do a whole lot more. He doesn't get a big boost. So I'll be interested to see if it boosts him. We'll find out. This is the first game without Fox, and we'll have a few weeks to respond to kind of the numbers that we're getting. But I'm not expecting Hield to get a massive boost or anything like that. But I would expect him to have a higher floor, I guess you could say, without Fox. Okay, moving on to my favorite stud of the day, and I think he will be pretty high owned. I would expect him to be. Maybe he won't be, but that's Nikola Jokic. And we'll get to some downsides of Jokic as well, but priced at a season low at 8,300 in a home game. And in a home, Jokic has just been so much better. Sometimes that can mean narrative, but we have a pretty big sample on this now. Last year, he averaged 3.6 more points at home, 1.7 more rebounds, and a whole assist more per game, which is just a massive fantasy impact for him, especially on a per-game basis. And even this year, if we go look at his, obviously we don't have a very big sample size, 9 games here, but home games averaging 48 fantasy points per game, away games 36.5 fantasy points per game. Alex Len, like I said at the beginning of the video, is questionable. So I'm not, we could see Bruno Fernando pop as a really big value if Len is out. We don't have news on him yet. He's just questionable right now. But Jokic at 1.3 fantasy point per minute per year, which is actually a little bit low. I think he'll be typically a little bit more productive than that, probably more around 1.4 or between 1.4 and 1.5. But even at 1.3, giving him 32 minutes, you're getting to value. And that's not even really addressing the matchup with Alex Len, who, whether it's going to be Alex Len or Bruno Fernando, there's no solid matchup down low here for the Hawks that should keep Jokic in check. Len is averaging 5.2 second chance points per game when he's on the floor, a terrible .049 defensive win share, which ranks 231st among NBA players. So I really think that Jokic just has a nut matchup here. Of course, I love him being at home. I think that takes away a little bit of risk. Obviously, the one risk that you do have is that there is a chance of a blowout here, which I don't like to really factor into my exposures too much. But it makes me not want to play him like 100% or anything like that, because there is some chance that this game could blow out. It's a 10-point spread, so obviously there's a chance that this could blow out. I love the idea of running back Jokic with Trae Young. I think Trae Young could go extremely overlooked today. This is mostly for GPPs. I don't think I would really could be considering Trae Young in cash games. But I just think everyone in the industry is going to see this tough matchup for Trae Young and look away. And it is a tough matchup. I mean, the Nuggets have a top 5 defensive rating. Jamal Murray is a solid on-ball defender. But, man, I think that this volume that Trae Young's been seeing can overcome it. He's got a 36% usage rate and is averaging 1.48 fantasy points per minute with Collins out this year. Obviously, Collins is still out with his suspension. So I like the idea of running back Jokic with Trae. I like the idea of having them both in lineups because, if Trae is hitting his shots, maybe this game stays a little bit closer for longer. So I like the idea. I also like the price on Gary Harris. I'll just search up his name real quick. Gary Harris. He's 4.5K, playing so many minutes a game. I mean, when he's healthy, he plays pretty much 30 plus a game. We see this 35 number quite a bit. We're probably going to usually see him there around that 34, 35 mark. At 4,500, I think he's a really, really good value. Harris, love the minutes, and he's a .75 fantasy point per minute producer. Obviously, because he's a shooting guard and he's going to get a lot of his points through shots, he has a significant upside there too if he is hitting his shots, if he's taking more shots, if he gets hot, that sort of thing. And of course, anyone can really get hot against this Atlanta team. Their defense is just terrible. So I like Harris, especially if this game stays close. I don't see how he doesn't get there at 4.5K. He'd have to be missing like all of his shots in this game. So that's pretty much my interest in that game for the most part. Unless Alex Len is out, that would change some things. We'll get to that in the Slack chat and on the lock sheet. I do like a few spots for Indiana. I think the Brogdon price is very, very interesting. At 7.6K, we've seen this price decrease. He got up to 8.3, 8.2, 8.1, even got up to 8.8 back here. So 7.6 is actually a solid value on Brogdon that we're getting today because he has had one bad game, and then he had a tough matchup against Orlando, which either one of those games I'm not too concerned about. It just really, really helps the value here. One of those, like I said, came against Orlando, and then with Lamb and Turner off the floor, Brogdon is averaging 1.08 fantasy points per minute. He's good for pretty much 32 to 34 minutes per game in most games, and he's just going to be getting the value here at his sub 8K price tag. Even in not a great matchup against Oklahoma City, but he definitely doesn't have the best matchup, but regardless, Brogdon can get there here in this spot. I also really like Sabonis, who is too cheap, mostly because we've seen Sabonis in these last 2 games with Goga injured play with the concussion and Turner out. He's played 39 and 38 minutes. Sabonis is averaging an ungodly 1.39 fantasy points per minute in 140 minutes without Lamb and Turner. And, of course, Goga out too. Sabonis is going to have to continue playing these big minutes, especially when he's not playing on a back-to-back, which he's not here. I just think that he's a really, really smash play today at 8.4K on DraftKings. It's not the best of matchups, like I said, with Brogdon, but you know, when you're averaging 1.4 fantasy points per minute and you're getting that many minutes, he just makes a lot of sense. On the other side, I don't mind running it back with like Dennis Schroeder. He's been looking really good. Of course, you're kind of relying on shots with Schroeder, but 5.8 is still a little bit too cheap for him with his upside that he's been providing. The last situation I'll talk about is, which I didn't actually mention this injury at the top of the video, is Karis Levert is out. And this is another spot where I think people are going to overlook because Utah is, you know, it is one of the worst matchups in the NBA, absolutely, which I talked about at the beginning of the video. You know, so many of these teams that run up in pace just don't have a good spot today, but there is some interest here for me, especially in GBPs. Kyrie's in a similar situation to Trey, where I think he'll go extremely overlooked in GBPs because people will see the matchup and just click away. But, I mean, Kyrie's at 1.67 fantasy points per minute without Levert this season. Obviously, that's probably a little bit high. I don't think if he's playing a full game without Levert, that he's going to average 1.6 fantasy points per minute, 1.67 fantasy points per minute. But, man, if he's virtually unowned and we've got a 100-minute sample size of him doing that well without Levert, I definitely have some interest. I think he's a very solid GBP play that's going to be extremely low owned. Taurean Prince is priced down at 5.2K. I think he could see some extra usage go his way. Spencer Dinwiddie also could see a few extra minutes and a little bit more usage as well. But a lot of those are coming next to Kyrie, so I don't love it. And, of course, like I said, the matchup is tough. I think both those guys will go extremely low owned because of the matchup, which is fair. The one I think it could impact the most is Garrett Temple here at 3.7K. Temple has typically been the guy to come off the bench for Levert, so it wouldn't be too surprising to see him potentially get a start here. I'm not sure if they're going to want to start Dinwiddie or if they're going to want to start Temple. I think they like Dinwiddie off the bench, and I think they could start Temple here with Levert out. We don't have a game where Levert has been out yet, so we don't really know what they're going to do. But obviously Temple's not a big upside option. You know, he's only averaging 0.66 fantasy points per minute with Levert off the floor this year, but he's an interesting option at 3.7K because I think we could see him get up to like 28, 29, something like that minutes. And I think he can definitely get the 5X here, even in a tough matchup against Utah. He might be on ball a little bit potentially. He can grab a few boards, maybe grab some defensive numbers. So, and the price isn't bad either at 3.7K. You know, there's a lot of space for him to have an upside there at 3.7K. Even though, like I said, he's not a big fantasy point per minute producer. He's not a big shooter. But even at 3.7K, you know, like 24 is a really big upside for that guy because that's over 6X or that's over 7X. So I definitely think there's space for him to do that. Definitely lots more interest on this slate, but that is where I'm going to pretty much end this. You know, guys like this situation here in Chicago where Otto Porter is out, we could see a few more minutes go to like Thad, Kobe White. Hutchinson has been starting. Like, this is a little bit of an interesting situation, but I'm going to leave you here, and I will leave the rest for the lock sheet and for the Slack chat. So thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to hit that like button. Please be sure to comment on this video for a chance to win a free season pass from LocksDFS.com. Hope you guys have some run good today, and take down some tournaments, maybe win your cash games, etc. Good luck today, and we will see you guys back here next time. Peace.